Hello and welcome to TFT Worlds Grand Finals, game number 5. Enjoy!
Cloak, a lot of people be like, well, isn't Cloak generally kind of weak? Is that it gives you a lot of defensive starts, and historically we've been seeing that whoever's been able to control stage 2 and 3 are usually in the best position to convert that unless you have a crazy lose streak augment. And in this case, Tech Summer has a glove and a belt, which does make guard breaker, which isn't the worst thing. I wonder what Tex is planning, because he's been playing a lot of laser core, but the one time he's not been playing laser core today ended up being very successful for him.
Yeah, that Draven composition was absolutely insane. The common consensus is that Draven was absolutely unplayable in competitive, but Tex finding that line uniquely among the competitors in this championship and taking it into first place, getting himself in checkmate. A lot of surprises in store from the Latin American player.
I love the way he navigated as well.
I mean, you're currently in the points lead. Certainly seems primed to take the championship.
Oh!
On the ground and finds
the press!
A choice of crest.
No hero augments on 2-1. There's a round of applause from the other side of the production room. That's right. You have gold tier augments. Now let's see if there's any crazy powerful starts.
We've got a lot of dual assemblers being re-rolled. A lot of crests knocking around the place as well. We've got a chance for our players to stake their claims immediately.
Okay, so Replay has a Spell Slinger crest while starting underground. So Replay is a very good candidate to potentially make that big come from behind victory if he can get that loss streak going. Who else is also playing lose streak? You see Shima Pen, for example, took Metabolic Accelerator. Let's see if he can find that underground. I don't think he did. This star for Replay is so good, but for players like Shima Pen, he's just going to try to go ahead and eco from this spot.
Yeah, remember, Shima Pen is one of our players on 17 points. All they need to do is survive through this round and hope that one of our 4 checking players do not win the lobby. Then they'll get one more chance in the next game to take the title for themselves.
And Dan, on the opposite end of the spectrum from what you were talking about, those loss streaking players, Flancy spent quite a while in the tank when picking his augment and ended up opting for Sunfire board.
Yeah, that's unusual because I feel like Flancy is usually really good when he plays
a
max
bug. I saw the wrong click. There we go.
Okay,
there we go. All right, it is still Sunfire. I was hoping he was scouting someone else.
And he's trying to commit to win streak without slamming items, which is awkward to say the least. But we'll see. Flancy has been playing a lot of laser core based strategies. Seems like he's going a lot towards AD. When I first caught my eye in set 7, Flancy was playing a lot of Fast 9 Aoshin with Dragonlance and getting huge capped AP boards. So it's been cool to see him kind of go back more towards AD currently in the championship.
Well, and that was also a point of contention at the regionals, as Tanner was saying. You know, Flancy had a unique angle, and a lot of pro players vehemently disagreed with his choice, but decided to roll for that 3-star. So taking some interesting angles compared to at least the other CN players.
So Suko again, who needs the big finish in this round, picking up the trade sector to go for something a little bit different. It looks like Laser Core already being intervened on.
And he slams Zephyr to try to see if he can get this win. That's how much Flancy wants to win. He does actually put it on the Ash, so it benefits from the attack speed. So maybe that Laser Core will end up getting that damage through. And a Zephyr slam has changed everything for Flancy. And more importantly, not only keeps a streak, but stops Setsuko from potentially get that 5 win.
But that was so close. That was so close to a loss for Flancy. So this upgrade with the Blitzcrank will help out considerably. See if any of the admins will save him.
The best one is the second one on ability cast. Admins heal for 300 HP if he wants to commit to some kind of Warwick line, which I think he wants to. But we'll see. I don't know if with the tier open, maybe he's thinking about any kind of ability power scaling.
Yes, that was the choice in the end. So Flancy will have that beefiness right now, challenging Bintam for the undefeated spot. Against Tech Summers. And this is what I want to bring up. Tech Summers is one of our players on check. If he wins, he becomes champion. But he's chosen the duelist composition, which generally has not been a top 1 comp.
That's correct. If you actually look at the duelist stats, it's a comp with a single digits win rate. It doesn't mean it can't win. It just means a lot has to go right. Usually, I mean, he has the first condition, which is to get things like 8 duelists with the duelist crest. The other is to hit something extremely powerful like spread shot vein, or you just have so much overwhelming tempo, you're able to go to like level 9 somehow and then get legendaries in as a way to support your board.
Yeah, we've seen it. You need the triple locket, you need the Neela 3, you need the Vayne 3. There are so many conditions here. Tech's taking a hell of a risk here.
So down at the bottom.
Not enough of a risk if you think about it.
Yeah, perhaps. Enzo and Shimmer Pen down at the bottom. They've taken the HP losses along with Tex as well. So the 3 of them taking the early loss streaks. Everybody else keeping themselves nice and healthy. Flancy and Bintam, of course, as mentioned before, keeping their streaks up. We've got a lesser champion duplicator coming to join the mix. So getting those early units online quickly will be that little bit easier.
Yeah, Replay started off Underground at 94 HP, by the way, and that's a really important detail because Replay is not going for a lose streak, like a heavy lose streak. He also has 2 duplicators, by the way.
Wow.
So now he's actually going for Underground HP preservations because he wants to go for max cash. Does that mean he's going to stop at 3 or 4? Probably not. He's going to see if he can stretch it to 5, and that's heavily predicated on whether or not he can even find potentially a 4th Underground. He instantly doesn't even have Vire at the moment.
Well, this is also what we saw with Flancy. Speaking of other players in this lobby, he had something similar, incredible tempo, incredible...
Whoa! Fighting for tempo and HP preservation, we talked about it, and so this is an aggressive move from Replay, and because he's going up against YBY, should be an easy victory, and he can make 10 gold that way.
That was very aggressive to cash in those duplicators right here and now. Replay instead wanted to keep keep that HP nice and healthy. YBY1, of course, another one of our players on a checkmate.
Oh.
The first place still a long way away.
Does he actually win?
Not a great indicator. Okay. It's still going. It is somehow still going, Dan.
Oh! No item slam. Perfect loss.
No.
Wait. Oh! I can't tell if that's actually good or bad for him because now he's on lost win, and YBY was a player that he definitely wanted to interrupt his streak. I guess YBY is not open for it either, despite that he's playing Prep and Lulu. Keep an eye on that too. If it's gold, there's a chance that Axiom Mark shows up, and all of a sudden we're talking about YBY becoming a champion.
I do want to bring us out of the weeds a little bit here, just to talk about what Bintum is doing right now. One of the ways to make sure we do see a Game 6 is to win the lobby yourself and force anybody else out of that position.
Yeah, Bintum, of course, one of our 3 players on 17 points. Really just needs to participate in this game, but if he wants to play spoiler to the 4 who could become champion this game, like you said, first place may be what it takes.
Yeah, so far totally undefeated. The Gadget team looking pretty good, and we've got a Gnar brewing here as well.
Yeah, interesting if he's going to stay on the Gadgeteen line or perhaps pivot out. This is a really good 3-item set for, say, like Viego, for example, like a Titan's BT plus the Zanya's Paradox, but I'm not entirely sure that's exactly what he's going to be going for. Either way, he's going up against Setsuko. Setsuko can't be understated the importance of losing that 2-2 fight versus Flans. We talked about how Setsuko was going for that 5-win streak with Trade Sector. Did not get it. And as a result, nobody's streaking, which is actually an interesting dynamic because that means nobody has the optimal setup except for Shimapin, who has 5 loss right now.
And I think what's going to be interesting about this for me is replay. We've been talking about that tempo Underground. One of the things that can interrupt Underground is taking those massive losses from the players who are so much further ahead. With a slower lobby, replay has even more chances to get to that legendary 5 lock.
That's a really good point. Lower gold means lower cap. But it also means that some people are going to have to play slower because they have to mass up their resources. So let's see how big these duplicators can swing things.
I do notice Enzo in the middle of the pack there, we can see on the right-hand side. A good amount of money in the bank and a good win streak as well. Another one of our players looking to try and make sure this goes to Game 6. They've got lots on the line here. We could still very likely have a champion by the end of this game.
An Ionic Spark just appears for YBY. That's pretty good. And if he gets tiered, that means he has blue buff for the Lulu. That's 5 Lulus. I'm starting to see something come together here for YBY. He's rolling pretty deep, though. Does he want to go for Lulu 3 immediately?
Maybe Pantheon 3? He's really digging here.
I mean, he's pretty close. 6 of each, or 5 and 6. Another
7
Pantheon,
now.
but now he's bench locked. He's rolling to 0?
I would have stopped there because now he's going to have no econ.
Okay. So this Malphite, but the Malphite, he is rolling to 0.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if I can agree with this, but we'll see if YBY can perhaps, 1, continue to hit the units, but 2, if the augments are even going to line up because he's putting all of his eggs in the Lulu basket when it might be a little bit premature.
Tech Summers, we can see on the other side of the board, though, is building up a strong carry of his own. Mentioned the chance to hit spread shot Vayne. Tech Summers is in position to see it happen.
Here come the augments. It's going to be gold, Dan.
He has to reroll this. And there's no Axiom Mark. That's a really big deal. Yes, some of the other augments are pickable, but not the ones he's looking for.
No, it would have been absolutely massive. Of course, we can see Flancy with Axiom Mark in the top right-hand corner. Probably won't care anywhere near as much about it.
Replay just hit Jewel Lotus. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And he has a guard breaker slammed with Underground cooking. Replay right now is looking pretty.
And we've seen him do incredible work in the later stages of the game, so having this tempo with the underground is looking incredible for his chances to make it out of this game as the world champion.
Last stand being picked up by Bintum. As we look across and see all of our different bits and pieces coming together for Bintum, a really fascinating early pickup of a lot of the Rift Walkers means he's online very quickly.
For Enzo's board here, he is going for an older composition here. Frodan, he's pulling out the Brawler Jax.
Okay, so his admin looks like it's a 5 seconds trigger. Is it gain permanent HP? If so, I can get behind that concept. I do wonder if how much he wants to greed these duplicators. If he can win without using the duplicators, great. But if he loses, Stage 3 is very crucial for Jax to keep that tempo high. And it's kind of close.
No.
Oh. So Enzo, this is a question of whether or not he should have rolled more or should he use his duplicators and greed his economy back up. But we'll see, as right now it looks like he's just a little bit too weak to finish off that deal. That's a Jax pair. He's going to keep rolling, see if he can hit that Jax too.
Digging pretty deep for this here.
And this is like something that you always regret, like, man, if only I just like had that earlier, I probably would have won that fight. The good news is that he wasn't like losing any streak, but Jax usually wants to play from ahead because you leverage your tempo to trade a lot of HP in the mid stages of the game to eventually spike with Jax through Ribbon 3.
Shimapen there at the bottom of the board on a 7-loss streak, 51 gold. Doesn't really seem to have solidified a direction here. A weird halfway point between Duelist and Oxslingers.
Seems like he wants to go for a Twisted Fate Oxslingers line, like you were mentioning, that Zhonya's plus Shiv is really good on Twisted Fate, and that Morello is good for Nico. The problem is, Shimapen has all offensive items, and he's trying to trade his HP. The good news is that his gold count is pretty high. You can actually look, he's pre-leveling, indicating that he likely wants to go for a level 3-5. However, I would argue that if Shimapen wants to go for it all, maybe greed until stage 4 because he does have that metabolic boost.
I mean, at least Shimapen was taking out a couple of units, as you said. The metabolic boost will turn things around later on and bring him back up the table. Certainly he's got a decent amount of company towards the lower there. YBY1 on 58, Replay and Enzo both starting to drop as well.
I just got his blue buff for the Lulu, and we kind of talked about how his spot wasn't the ideal scenario, but it's not even just enough to have that blue buff. Does he have Lulu 3? Does he have the other components? I mean, he sold his only Malphite, right? So he didn't even have access to supers. I'm curious about what his position is like as we take a look at Replay, who has to continue this heist, right? This feels like it's not good enough just for Shroud.
Yeah. Still at 66 HP, which a decent saving here on the HP, but not exactly where you want to go if you're trying to go for 5 locks.
No. Okay. I mean, this is, I thought with the spell sling, certainly a little bit different than we've been used to seeing, but the itemization is decent enough waiting on the bench to be thrown in once Replay decides the time is right.
Yeah, I'm looking at Shiv to potentially be slammed here, and then maybe even a Shroud if he's feeling like he really wants to preserve HP. He's waiting to slam beforehand. This is really good fundamental play. The thing that defines Replay over some of the other players is that he's so patient. He will make decisions if it makes sense. And so he made sure to see the matchup if it's something that he needs to slam to stay competitive in. And he does. He recognizes that Bintum looks pretty strong, but as a result, by slamming that Shiv into preserving a little bit more HP.
Matt, I can't help but noticing for Bintum, who's currently at the top of the table win streaking, he's got one augment that's doing literally nothing for him right now, the last stand.
And we've seen this a million times. That last stand is so crucial for getting that last extra juice out of your composition. Not only does it give you that defensive stats, the Omnivamp, but on top of that, it allows you the safety to play a little bit more dangerous in those final 1v1s to try and get that every second of advantage.
Man, Flancy slammed a Lock of the Iron Solari with Sunfire board.
He's just slamming everything, man.
Really, really high tempo, right? This is a style. It's a fusion between duelists. You might think Laser Core with Locket isn't that kind of weird, but the idea is you're trying to win the first half of the fight. Sunfire boards last for 20 seconds, and so you want to make sure the fight ends by then. He's trying to go for a fast Blitzkrieg strategy and hope that he can overwhelm his opponents.
Yeah, I do really like it. Of course, Flancy, another one of the players on a checkmate, so doing anything unexpected could be the key to the championships. Bintum from before on the win streak against Flancy's win streak. There's a lot of gold on the line in this round.
Yeah, that's right. The winner of this gets to preserve the streak. And for Flancy, that's really important because he wants to get to level 8. He wants to stop rolling at 7. Every single gold that he can collect to get to there is huge. And he's going to win by a landslide. And more importantly, stop Bintum's streak, who's one of the people who could potentially usurp the throne. If Bintum or any of the 17 point players can get that win, we're going to game 6.
That's right. 4 players in contention for the win. 4 players in contention for a check.
He cashes it out.
Ugh.
Replay is on 45 HP, has a lot of money in the bank, so we know this board could transform pretty meaningfully going into stage 4.
Are we going Spellslinger Aurelion Soul with Oxforce Spellslinger? That could potentially be really good. So you dual carry Aurelion Soul instead of Nico. That gives you a little bit more flexibility. Instead of trying to go for more Star Guardian approach, you can kind of outfit a lot more utility.
Makes the Trinity make sense as well.
Yeah, so and Lock is actually honestly not even that bad for Oxforce as well, because you can line up your Oxforce in a row, and all of them have extra additional armor and magic resistance, meaning that shield is going to be even more value. It was actually a way that you could play Oxforce when we first saw that rework, the 4 Oxforce Locket strategy to go for a fast 8. It's almost coming back here with that underground cash out.
Replay moving it through and setting up this new board, looking to impress us here. Of course, we're only one round away from seeing what the final augment will be. Replay, of course, hoping to really change his fortunes, but for YBY1, the 3-star Lulu has landed. 4 hearts, 3 supers, one hell of a lot of pain.
See how strong it can be here. Not going for Gunblade. Dan, we've talked about this a million times. Gunblade is crucial for this composition to keep that front line alive, and Lulu in those 1vx situations.
It's going to be one of those situations where if he does hit Axiom Mark, he might be in a situation where one day he wants that healing. Remember, coming up on 4-2, 75% chance for hero, 25% chance for gold, no prismatic, no silver, and that is going to determine what happens the rest of this game.
YBY1 winning the round here. Let's see what we've got. It's going to be the hero augment, and we've got a chance to throw in a Syndra immediately.
Is this Syndra, or is it something like Partners in Crime so you can get that Omnivam going? Do we need more AP when we have Deathcap and Jewel Gauntlet and Preparation and Heart Crest, or do we need Omnivam? That's a question that YBY has to ask.
He can pretty easily dig for it if he decides he wants the Omnivam, because it's a 4-4-5, but he will opt for Empowered Reserves.
And the caveat to Empowered Reserves is, does he even have the bench space to capitalize on it?
No, he's got no gold to work with.
He's got like half his bench filled. I'm not sure if I agree with that pick, but I understand why he picks it, because Empowered Reserves is a really good augment, make no mistake. But that's a decision that I think a lot of people have to go back and review and think about it clearly.
So we'll be catching up on some of our choices. Setsuko with the notorious shiny that he was seeking in previous games, but Tex Summers has it as well. The augment that lets you hit boards that would be impossible under any other circumstance.
Well, that's a 2-star Viego with that Zhonya's Paradox we talked about. This is a really good 3-item setup for Viego, but Viego primary is not that reliable, especially with a lot of tanks and brawlers, meaning that you don't actually get the resets. This is a bad matchup for Bintum, and Enzo could potentially punish it if the Viego can't get the resets. That being said, the Heartstopper is a pretty solid augment, getting some resets now.
There we go.
Just a little bit, not enough damage to get the resets though, so.
There's Oxforce though.
Yeah.
Riven will have that final whap down.
Whew. Unless OT can change anything, it pretty much goes. It was closer than I thought it would be.
No, I mean, we've got a lot of armor there rather than the magic resist you'd otherwise like to have. For Enzo, the Brawlers are there. We've got the Morkais are there as well, so could even put in the laser core a little later on.
One thing that's also really interesting is Enzo chose Well Fed. I just realized that he took a scaling augment this late into the game with Well Fed instead of going for big data. And a lot of people would just say that Jax is only playable with big data. So Enzo's going off the books against the stats and data. Who is right? Is it the Frenchman who's gotten this far, or is all the data nerds just like, I should have picked big data there?
Well, I'm also wondering, at this late in the game, you only have 4 Jaxes. Is this a way for him to find a different out?
Potentially, right? Like if you can scale it. Right now, Riven and Mordekaiser are also contributing to the damage pool, so maybe that's good enough. Going against Tex Summers. Good Skylines trying to get past the front line. Another cast. It looks like Enzo might barely not get there because I don't think he has enough DPS to take care of this Vayne.
Another Vayne with 3 items up to the very edge of annihilation. Enzo, good enough. Starts putting together a streak of his own.
But we can see the weaknesses in the Enzo's board, right? He doesn't have a ton of damage. That Warwick survived until the end, sure, but he was doing absolutely nothing.
That's right. No item, by the way, off, or no, sorry, there are items. No champion on the carousel, by the way, so that way you can get gold, or Enzo picks up a Jax. Like, when you're re-rolling, sometimes you're looking at these carousels, not just for the items and the anvils or the things with the glitched out carousel mechanic, but also what champion can help you get to that 3-star.
Yep. YBY sitting on this spatula as well, potentially looking for another heart emblem.
Yeah, no, I think that would be the route to go through to get up to Heart 6. We've seen how incredibly powerful this can be. There's no tier in the anvil, though, and that's got to be heartbreaking.
Oh, good pun. I like it.
I like it as well.
Took me a while to figure it out.
So he went for Sunfire Cake because he wants anti-heal primarily, which I understand. You want to make sure that there's no super tank that's like healing outside the range of Lulu.
I mean, especially in a lobby with a Jax reroller.
With just, yeah, fair enough. But just with this board, is it good enough? YBY is currently in 8th place, going up against Flancy, who hit that Mordekaiser, going for that laser core, and the Zephyr is good. Flancy moved it up 1 hex just for the 50-50, and he nailed it.
Yeah, that's Lulu's out of play for a good chunk of the round. She won't be stacking up. When she lands, though, she's dealing out the damage. You notice, of course, Matt, there is no Hextech Gunblade there. There's no safety net for this Lulu.
Ash is going to try her damage, but will get shut down.
Very close, and that's a good loss for Flancy, although if Flancy hits any of those 2-stars, 2-star Warwick, or obviously 2-star Mordekaiser, that's a different game. So Flancy's going to get much stronger in the coming moments.
We're seeing the chip in YBY1's composition, which is that lack of healing, which is that health on Lulu. Later stages, you're right, Dan, if anyone gets a Mordekaiser 2 and lands it on her, she's dead.
She'll have the preparation for just a tiny bit more health, but you're right, it may well not be enough. And we see our compositions across the board. We see Flancy, of course, noted with the laser core up the top. The Rift Walkers in 2nd place have Bintum. Setsuko 2nd from bottom, but does have the power of the shiny to push him through with maximal gold.
This is a Setsuko board if I've ever seen it. Not 1, not 2, 3 econ-related augments in Trade Sector, Rich Kevitcher, and Shiny. Going up against Lulu. The Garen's in the right spot for the Mecha Justice. Insta-cast. Is that going to be enough?
Beautiful damage coming out there, but needs a second stun to stop this Lulu before she casts. She will pop off, taking down that Belvath. Needs one more on the Samira, and it's a good, clean shot. Just the fiddlesticks remaining, and Lulu's going to be able to take them out in short order.
Setsuko doesn't have that much room to maneuver, down to 24 HP. It would certainly be heartbreaking to die with a lot of gold in pocket. Setsuko, the lowest points player in the lobby right now. Everybody else, if we make it through to the next game, is guaranteed check. Setsuko, the only one where that may not happen.
That would be kind of a awkward situation. 7 players in check. Setsuko the only player not in, but I mean that sets the stage for some pretty impressive comeback. I want to say one thing. Setsuko hasn't popped his item anvil yet. That's a really interesting choice because he had no item components to play off of. It's a really advanced move. He's waiting to see the components that he comes off of Aurelion Soul first, or Aurelion Doom rather, and then after he sees the components, then he pops both anvils to see if he can mix and match the proper things that he's looking for.
And Shiny as well. Gives him a chance to get a couple more item components off that. So ultimate flexibility here from the North American player as we head over to Enzo's board. Take a look at what he's up to. Still 2 Jaxes off. Well, 1 with that duplicator.
That's right. And Jax 3 is a big deal, and he can go for Rage Blade as the last item guaranteed. We need that Jax 3. Jax is in the shop, and there you have it.
Okay.
France is online.
So we've got ourselves a pretend of a full version of the Jax. We're going to be able to fire out the backline. No scope weapons, but has the next best thing of the rapid fire cannon, the Grinsus as well. The power to get through a round with incredible power now deployed against Replay.
He was already on a streak coming into that round, a 4 streak with just the Jax 2. So this Jax 3 with the Rage Blade doing massive amounts of damage as you see that tower fall directly on Replay's board. And Jax just completely uncontested. So much health.
The only thing is that Jax tends to struggle with the Oxford machines because it stalls for a long time. And the single target DPS of Twisted Fate 1 is really good. So Enzo didn't position his Jax next to Twisted Fate, which is good. But the problem is he couldn't get past Replay's front line fast enough. Now Replay is pretty close to stabilizing.
This is the weakness of melee carries in the later stages as well. If they don't have any way to find CC immunity, 1 stun is enough to end their day.
We check in with Setsuko again. As noted before, putting a lot of eggs in the basket, hoping it will pay out big. The mech is at least strong on the front line and relying heavily on Samira, but perhaps also the Belveth as well, long term.
He's going to probably abandon the Samira plan and now go for Belveth 3. I'm kind of surprised he's not using his duplicator on the Wukong 1. He can't really use it on any other unit. But he's going to try to make this work anyways, and I think Setsuko's probably turning a little bit too hard. He wasn't even playing Syndra anyways, but that extra HP on Garen could make a big difference as he's going up against Tech Summers, and this fight is crucial for Setsuko if he wants to live.
Here we go, that Belveth in the back line, pretty uncontested, and such a clean win here from Setsuko. Twisted Fate, only one to challenge it, and Tech Summers off the back of that, taking a big hit.
No one else is playing Belveth, am I correct? So Setsuko does have a really good out here. Tech Summers, by the way, we talked about duelists. One of the other big thing about duelists is that it's really easy to get screwed by late game hero augments. That's exactly what happened to him.
We're going to take stock of our HP totals. You look up the side there, and nearly everybody is not looking healthy at all. Replay on 39, but you start to see it drop dramatically to go for the down. Setsuko building up power, close to a comeback.
I like Aurelion Soul better than I like the Samira here, but Setsuko, this is not the same Setsuko I watched first couple of days. There's a lot of small things that Setsuko always does correctly, but I think that there's like a lot of things rushing through his mind. He is frantically trying to preserve this game.
In his matchup pool, he'll find Flancy, the current lobby leader.
So do remember, replay, Flancy, YBY1, and Tech Summers. If any of them win this game, they will become the champion of the Monsters Attack Championship. For Setsuko, he's just looking to try and make sure that sixth game does happen. As down goes one Belveth, and the second as well. Setsuko barely holds on, and so does Tex.
Tech Summers going out here means only 3 players would be eligible to win this game, to win this tournament, to win the championship. And Tech Summers, the last hope for LATAM. Can he make a final stand and potentially come back? I don't think so, but we still have some game to play.
Anything's still possible. Shimapen valiantly holding in here, I will say. We talked about him a little bit earlier with that metabolic accelerator. Still sticking with that composition as we see multiple people single digits.
And the elephant in the room here is Flancy, of course, with 3 championships in the bag for China, is in first place with a ton of HP. It could all end in this game, and China, despite everything, remain the dominant force in TFT.
It's the strongest that North America has been. It's the smallest the gap has ever been between tiers. OC and Brazil were just like 1 or a few points away from also joining us in the final lobby. The fewest amount of Chinese players we've ever had in the top 8 since set 5 Reckoning, and you're telling me that they win anyways?
Always possible. Flancy, the one eschewing the strategies of his own region, learning from other regions like NA, could be the perfect TFT player this set.
No, we talked about this before. You know, you win a championship, and then suddenly you are the one to take strategies from, leading the pack on the entire planet. Setsuko on the right-hand side of your screen, trying to stay alive. Tech Summers over on the left. Such big difference makers, but Setsuko is out of there. Tech Summers could be next. Everyone's evaporating on the board. The Hearts have it, and Tech Summers goes down.
Falling to YBY1, another player on checkmate. The first Southeast Asian representative, first off at any World Championship, but in the final day.
Hold on, Riri plays on a streak. It might come down to North America versus China right now, just based on the trajectory of HP plus the momentum for replay. Might end up being that top 2. Enzo and Bintam are going to try, but they've been losing. They've been ping-ponging back and forth, and then Shimapen's the other player that is going to try to upset that, but right now I don't think he's in position to do anything.
This board is looking pretty sad for level 8 and nearly stage 6, I will admit.
Yeah, Shimapen, I think just praying, hoping somehow can hold on for one more round. We'll be getting some more items into the mix. Replay, though, very happy to show exactly how powerful the Ox4 Spellslinger ball can be. 3 carries itemized on the top of your screen. The board's starting to fall to pieces.
There goes Shimapen. That last carry will not be enough. Shimapen down in 6th place. And Replay benefiting heavily from that Thieves Gloves, as we see now YBY1's board will finally get taken out by Enzo's Jax board.
If Enzo has the scaling HP, he theoretically could get to critical mass of HP, and then it just becomes really difficult for anyone to burst him down.
Yeah.
I see a world where Enzo can take this as well, and all of a sudden, a contender has potentially extend this series.
Oh my gosh, what a world that would be. So, I mean, Flancy is still on the top of the heap right now, even if Replay and Enzo are starting to pick up steam. Flancy has a lot of gold in the bank as well, so he can get even stronger. He's threatening to go to level 9 with these laser core and fill the board with drones.
And looking across the lobby so far, Frodan, I'm not seeing a single Giant Slayer.
There was with Shimapen, but he died. So
not anymore.
That TF would be really good, and that's actually a really good point. The more spell slingers are out of this lobby, the higher chance Enzo has for some of his bad matchups. Also, look at the itemization for Flancy. There's a couple of inefficiencies. You're looking at Locket not being nearly as good in the late game. Same thing with Warmog. Same thing with the double shift. So Flancy is kind of down, in quotation marks, a couple of items relative to other people in terms of their peak power levels.
And there's one Giant Slayer, but it is on Bintum's Riftwalker board, which has been flip-flopping over the last couple of rounds, despite having an incredibly strong early game, now hunting for those 3-star 4 costs.
One of our players on checkmate seems poised to get taken out here. Bintum, of course, one of our 2 remaining players who are looking to keep this series going. We can see already the Jin being taken out to half health and almost deleted. Almost won't quite be good enough. He will fall down, and that's nearly all the damage gone in an instant.
This is a complete punish for positioning. You gotta be careful about second row Lulu for this exact reason. If you can assassinate the Lulu, you lose all your backline DPS, but can Pantheon get this done anyways? He's taking all that damage.
Oh my lord.
And he's dead. So top 4 is secured, and YBY is also not eligible to win right now.
2 players remaining for contention of being the world champion. Flancy, who has just leveled to 9. Replay, who is on a massive win streak coming into the top 4.
Just to reiterate for anyone who came in late, these players are playing for $320,000 in this series, spread across from 1st to 8th. It could not get any higher stakes.
We're taking a look at Replay's board. Looks like he still has yet to hit some of his really impactful stuff. He's frontlining a 1-star Lux. But we're going to pivot off of that. Look at Flancy going back to Enzo. This match is so important.
Here comes the level 9, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. Those health bars are massive on the side of Enzo, and the damage from Flancy just is not there. Look at the Ribbon, still above half health. The Jax uncontested in that mid-health region. Warwick now getting focused, taken down. The Jax unstoppable. No CC left on the board of Flancy.
And Dan, you were talking about that break point when this board became too much to handle. It seems like we've hit that point.
There's too much flat damage that you're trying to do with laser core to win the fight early. Remember, you're trying to scale it fast. Urgot 2, that is a really big pickup, but is it enough? He still needs more to Kaiser 2, and he only has the pair in the shop. Flancy might have to roll. Another thing to note was Enzo was doing all this, by the way, on 7 Brawler. He still didn't even have his max cap. So there's going to be some really powerful boards. And the final piece is that this all stands to benefit Replay, because we mentioned how TF and Spellslingers have a good matchup against Jax traditionally, but if Enzo has too much HP, it might not matter.
More Kaiser 2 entering the fray. Flancy putting in his last ace card.
Bintum, one of the only challengers to prevent the champion from being crowned this game with this Riftwalker board, will do his damnedest against Flancy, but a massive ultimate comes out from the Urgot. The Fiddlesticks enters the fray as Bintum exits it. The Jin, the only one remaining, will fall, and Bintum down to last stand.
Enzo lost. We talked about this. Replay's a good matchup. And the stage is set. Going into the stage 6 carousel, only a few more fights determine whether or not we're going to Game 6 or whether or not this rodeo comes home.
We've got one Easterner, one Westerner up at the top, looking to end the game here. We've got one Easterner, one Westerner in the bottom, or the second and third, or third and fourth place, looking to keep this one going. Bintum, a huge injection of power onto his board, could change everything.
And it feels like it's all up to Bintum, all on his shoulders. We've seen Enzo's board cannot stand up to the rest of the lobby, so it's all going to be down to this newly buffed Riftwalker board.
Yeah, that Riftwalker plus Last Stand is one of the strongest compositions, because Riftwalker is the sum of his parts. You're telling me you're buffing the entire board. He also has some pretty solid role players with that Leona, for example. How Bintum positions can be the difference between whether he stays alive or he dies right here.
Bintum now on what could be his last round, rolling up against
against
Enzo.
each other.
It doesn't matter who wins this. No matter what, we will be down to 3 players at most at the final round. Now, Jin uncontested in the backline, but those frontliners are so strong. Viego surviving thanks to that Zhonya's paradox, but this Riven still half health, healing second after second with this redemption. Now the Leona will finally target. The key to beating the Brawlers is here. Jax all alone. Enzo will fall, and Bintum's chances remain.
I think you're right there, though. I think Enzo is honestly going to be happy enough to cede the spot. Bintum is in a much stronger position to force a game 6, and Enzo just could not get across the line fast enough. But replay on the win streak, 2-star Janna.
Oh, that's so scary. Bintum just cleared 1 boss. Now he has to go through 2 more if he were to extend it and potentially bring a second title to Korea. But replay is knocking on heaven's door. Just how far will he go? He's going up against Bintum to seal the deal and potentially bring it to a heads-up play.
There's all these extra defensive stats in the mix. We've not got full itemization for Bintum as of yet. This board could get stronger, but it may not get the chance.
Here we are, the TF in the backline. North Americans' potential championship dreams. Bintum's board starting to evaporate. The Leona doing her damnedest, but it's not going to be enough. The Viego jumps into the backline. Zhonya's paradox will not keep him alive for much longer.
He's trading!
He's trading! Ultimate! He survives! It's all down to Jin! The Nico into the back needs one more ultimate, and there goes Jin. Replay or Flancy will be your champion. It's down to round number 5.
NA versus China. There's only one left. Items. We've made it all the way to the big friendly Argot in the sky. The last pieces of the championship puzzle are coming together.
And Dan, I see a North American victory on the horizon.
It couldn't have ended any other way. Is a rightful passing of the torch, or the Titan remains unslain? Who is going to win between China, who has won not 1, not 2, but 3 times in a row in a game of variance? Can they do the impossible? When they said that they were at their weakest, when they said that it was unlikely to be done, will China win again, or will North America usurp all of it and claim the throne?
The final rolls coming in here. Everyone down to 0 gold. No hope left. No changes to be made. It's all down to the positioning. It is all down to the first round of stage 7.
7 Urgots. And a dream.
There's just, I don't think there's going to be any more coming in, surely.
He needs to win 2 because replay is very healthy, but this could be the final fight. He's looking for the last item, no Zephyr, no Shroud, and this is it, potentially the last fight of the set.
Replay's got the HP in the bank to keep himself alive if this goes against him. We have the Zephyr. That's 1 massive damage dealer out of play. Flancy has his chance.
Oh, the Mordekaiser!
Here comes the Twisted Fate into the backline. Takes down the Mordekaiser. North America, replay, claims the championship. Down goes Flancy, and up comes North America.
They said it wasn't possible. They said it was Disneyland. They said it was all hype. But